was just pulling some tarot cards for the show. I wanted to see what was going to go on tonight. And I kept pulling the same card, kept coming up King of Pentacles. So that kind of made me think that maybe somebody's going to call into the show tonight, but I don't know. We'll see if somebody with a problem that we can fix with astrology. So welcome to the Soul Space. I am Georgia Rose, founder of the Zenkuda community on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere you can find communities these days. Seems like there's a million of them. And this is a show where we get in touch with our soul space. We do tarot and astrology. We have spiritual guests. February, I'm going to be devoting to a bunch of people who are going to come on and tell us about their experiences after their loved ones have passed and things that have happened where they know they have had messages from beyond. That's going to be a really interesting month. And tonight we're going to talk about some affirmations to help us get started creating our life in 2025. And we're also going to talk about astrology. That is what we talk about a lot on this show. We use it as a guide. And if anybody wants to call in, we'll be putting the number up on the screen. You can also comment live, either on YouTube or on social media. I am actually going to share the show, if I can get it to come up here. Okay, I'm not seeing the show live on social media yet, so we'll see what that's about. Okay, so if you're at home, please share the show. We'd love to grow our community at Soul Space. So we have a full moon in Cancer today that's coming in, and I got to tell you, that full moon in Cancer, we've been talking about that for a long time. It's finally here. We've been talking about it since the beginning of the year, January 1st. It's finally here, and it's got some aspects that are actually bringing up a lot of things from below the surface for us. A lot of old emotions, a lot of old baggage, and all kinds of things like that. Here's the show. There's just always a delay, so I'm going to put that on the feed. Sorry, guys. I got to tell you, everything has been so glitchy today. All of my computers at work, everything has just been nuts. So share the show if you'd like, and then I'm going to go back to comments, see where you guys are, and we're going to just post that. So yes, this full moon in Cancer is a biggie. It's got a lot of aspects on it, which we're going to talk about tonight. Let me say hi to a few people, see who's on in my comments section. Whoops. Almost lost me. All right, well, they'll put the comments up on the screen for me. So, full moon in Cancer. When I was going to the studio tonight, I could actually see a little red dot next to the full moon where I am in New York. And that's Mars. The moon is actually conjunct Mars during this full moon, which means that they're right close together. And Mars is also in opposition. It's been dancing in opposition to Pluto, which is in Capricorn. So what does all that mean? Well, guys, I'm sure you've been feeling the emotions coming up from the surface. Things that we thought we were maybe healed or that we really stopped thinking about a while ago are all bubbling up. Why is that? Because Mars and the moon in Cancer is a water sign. It's opposing Pluto in air sign Aquarius, and Pluto is the planet of revelation. Pluto is the planet of transformation. It likes us to do some metamorphosis. So when Pluto is opposing Mars, which is retrograde in a water sign like Cancer, what happens is the air of the Aquarius Pluto bubbles up stuff from the depths of the Cancer archetype where the moon and Mars are. And Mars is our action. Mars is the way that we relate to things in the world as far as our desires go and the things that make us aggressive, make us passionate, make us tick. So with a full moon like this, you're going to see that watery Cancer is an archetype of the places that is most vulnerable in us, our softest spot inside of ourselves. The things that we're so vulnerable about that we don't like to really bring out to the surface, we don't like to show people. So with the moon there, it's bringing out even more emotions. The moon is our identity, our emotional identity. And so when you have the moon and Mars in Cancer, it brings up a lot of emotion. It's heart work. So opposing Pluto in Aquarius really means that a lot of our heart work, a lot of the things that we have kept hidden, that we didn't really want to deal with, now are being brought up to the surface. Pluto is revealing them so that we have to deal with them. And this, of course, happens a lot for those of us on the soul path, those of us who are growing. But particularly with a moon like this, it can be very intense. But the beauty is all those things that we were working on in 2024 and, the things that came to the surface and that we were trying to overcome, well, now with a full moon like this, it's a culmination point. It's the end point. Now, if you go into quiet space or you do a meditation, in this particular full moon, you're going to see that the path forward becomes clear. Now we really know what we don't want. We already have experienced things. We know where the wounds come from. We know what direction to go in. So if you remember last week, the affirmation that we chose was, I am in control of my life. And I chose that affirmation particularly for the first show of the year because I think especially in 2025, we're going to really come to that point where we know that we are in control of our life, and we're going to stop doing a lot of the behaviors that hold us back, whether it's out of guilt or obligation. We're really going to come to a point where we know we are in control. And that's why I chose that affirmation. And tonight's affirmation, which we're going to go to in a minute, is really going to surprise you. So we'll just roll our little affirmation promo, and then we'll talk about what our affirmation is tonight. So tonight our affirmation is very fitting for the Cancer full moon. And our affirmation is, are you ready, guys? Start each day with a beginner's mind. And what does that mean? Well, in this full moon, we're going to see a lot of the things that kind of come to culmination that we've been living with for a while, that we've kind of tolerated. And now we no longer really want to tolerate them. So we have a new path, a new way. The Aquarian energy and Pluto in Aquarian energy really is there to show us the innovation, the pioneering, the new way of doing things. And that's what 2025 is all about. So when we start each day with a beginner's mind, there's nothing from the past coming in. And this full moon is an awesome opportunity for us to clear that past, the past that we bring into our present. And so if we can do that, we're going to start each day with a beginner's mind. And if you think about if there was a time when you started something new, maybe you took up a new hobby or you started a new relationship or a new job or a new course of study. And when you first went into that, when you were the beginner, you had no preconceived ideas. You had no bad experiences yet. You had nothing that made you feel like you shouldn't do it, like it was something bad was going to happen. That's a beginner's mind. It's fresh, it's optimistic, it's positive. So if you can harness that energy of when you first started to do something and it was fresh and new, even go back to the time when you were, 6 or 7 years old and learned how to ride a bike. Riding that bike was such a new and spontaneous and fun experience. So if we can take each day and start it with a beginner's mindset, it clears all the debris field. It clears all those things that we no longer want to carry into our future. And that's really fitting in a sky like this, because with all of the aspects that we have right now, we have really big energy to suit us in going forward into a new future without all the stuff from the past. It's like we're on the plane and we threw the baggage out the window. That's 2025. We have the ability to get rid of a lot of baggage. And so I don't know, I can't see my comments, Carmine, so if you can put them up on the screen on the monitor here, that would be great so I can interact with people. So who have I got on tonight? I've got Michelle. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Got Sarah on. A few people on. Slow start to the new year, but usually we have a bunch on. So the affirmation is start your day with a beginner's mind. And the reason why I chose that one is because we're still in the beginning of a new year, and I feel like that's going to help us clear conditioning and clear all of our past stuff. And that's really what is going to happen in this moon. So think about where you're feeling triggered. Think about the things that come up for you in the next couple of days, because that's the place that you need to clear. That's the place that no longer works. And the other thing I love about a beginner's mind is there's no bitterness. A lot of times when we're clearing our past or we're clearing preconceived ideas or conditioning that no longer works for us, maybe you have some things that were cultural for you. When we clear those things, sometimes we can get bitter about our past, but a beginner never does that because there is no past. So it's really great to be able to just formulate that stuff and really come in from a beginner's mind. The other reason why I chose that affirmation for tonight is because if you think about the Cancer energy, it's represented by the crab. And if you're ever by the ocean, you'll see that there are certain times when crabs come out of the ocean. Usually it has to do with the tides going in and out. And usually it's when the tide is going back out and the beach has been cleared and there's no more debris on the beach. So, the crab that comes out of the ocean to search that beach really is starting with a beginner's mind every time. Even if it's a very old crab, every beach is new for him. So I thought that was really a good idea to kind of think about too. Every day washes up clear, right? Every day is a new beginning for us. So why not start it with a beginner's mindset? If we can do that, then we actually are perfectly clear. And in that clearness, we find clarity, right? So I thought that was really good. So this week, just think about letting go of what's decayed, letting go of things that no longer serve us. And I know that's a cliche, but I really do believe that 2025 and the way that the energy is working, we have a really wonderful opportunity for internal reordering. And by that, I mean, like, what is our real priorities? Like, we have a certain type of priority and we have a certain degree of priority, and usually it's set by others. And remember our first affirmation, I am in control of my life. When you put that together with starting from a beginner's mind each day, well, we're going to start dropping those feelings of guilt and obligation, and we're going to be pretty hip to the manipulations that we also find, because that's where we start to really lose the priority of that totem pole where we should be on the top. And a lot of times we're under pressure to do things for other people, whether it's a parent or a child, we have responsibilities. And I understand that, we all do. But there's also always an opening where we can find a way to make those responsibilities less burdensome and maybe take joy in them. Maybe we need to scale back the amount of time we give to them, or maybe we need to set up a new boundary. And what I would like to see us all do, and what I'm working on for 2025 myself, is instead of feeling pressured from other people and the things they need and want you to do, I want the strongest pressure in my life to be the pressure that I have to make my life more meaningful. And whatever that means to me. And it's going to be individual for each one of us. Aquarian energy is very individual. But if we can make our priority that, my priority is to make my life more meaningful, we're going to start dropping all of those things that restrict us and feel heavy and weighty and prevent us from doing other things. Because then we're going to be using our energy correctly. And that's really what we want to do in this energy, is really use our energy correctly. So, hey, Nancy, how are you doing? Marie's on also. Moving forward in 2025, I heard somebody on one of the podcasts the other day say, let's thrive in 25. I thought that was kind of cute. Sarah says she's exhausted today. I get that. I felt like that in this full moon too. It's happening in my 7th house of relationships, and sometimes it's a little draining for me. But also because it's a water sign, and we've got now the moon and Mars retrograde, which is our drive and our ambition, in retrograde, which is a lesser energy, and it's dragging a little bit through water. Mars doesn't really like to be in Cancer. Mars likes to go forward and be aggressive and take action and assert ourselves and give us passion and motivation. And in Cancer, it's a little bit watery. It's, finding it harder to move. And it's also retrograde, so it's slow. So that's why we feel drained a little bit. So when you think about our 2 affirmations from the last 2 weeks, I am in control of my life, and start each day with a beginner's mind. When you put those together, think about what's meaningful to you. And also, if you can, this evening or tomorrow during this full moon time, kind of take some quiet time and think about what's really changed in your life. What's really changed in 2024? Where can you take what's changed and make it even more of a benefit to yourself? Michelle says she's a Cancer and she's the one with the crab. Well, the thing about Cancer energy is sometimes they have beautiful, beautiful heart, but they sometimes can be a little moody. hey, you go with the tide, right? And anyone out there who's a Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, just know that you're going to be very, very touchy and susceptible to the moon. So if you are a Cancer, rising, moon, or sun sign, you definitely want to plan your life around where the moon is every day, because you're going to feel that moon stuff really a lot. Cancer is also not a mental energy. You know, this moon, when you're thinking about what no longer serves you, what you want to release, and what you want to build in 2025, it's not going to be mental or intellectual. In a sky like this, it's going to be emotional. So link yourself to that emotion, because that's where the truth lies. When you are really in the heart space, which Cancer is all about heart energy, when you're in that, that's where your truth is. That's where you know what you really, really want to desire. So this full moon has a couple of aspects. And the reason why these aspects are very important that I'm going to talk about right now is because if you think about this time that we're in, right? Today's the 13th, tomorrow's the 14th of January. Here in the States, we're like 6 days away from this presidential inauguration. And there's a lot of energy swirling around now that is really going to be affecting the inauguration. And I think of that as a seeding moment for Donald Trump and for a new administration that comes into our country. And there's some things that are really interesting about the astrology in this time frame when we're doing this. And I'm going to go into those in a minute, but first I want to just talk a little more about this moon. Nancy says she is also a water sign, Scorpio. So you're going to feel more about the moon if you are a water, if you have a heavy water chart. So this particular full moon has an aspect to Pluto, obviously, because it's Mars and the moon are opposing Pluto in Aquarius, which is all liberation, transformation. And that's why I'm encouraging everyone to go into that heart space when you are thinking about these full moon rituals or just the energy now. Even if you don't go into a full-blown meditation or any kind of moon ritual, really kind of think about, what is my heart telling me? You know, kind of breathe through your heart, breathe deeply into your chest, and picture yourself just breathing into your heart and try and feel what the emotions are there, because there's a lot of liberation that can really come through when your heart tells you what your desire is. Because also in this energy, there's a lot of emotional clarity. This is a turning point and an adjustment, a big turning point, setting the tone for the rest of the year, where through that emotional clarity, you can see truth and shed what's not true for you. Shed those things that are making you feel held down or too obligated, you know? Like maybe I don't need to go see my elderly mother every other day. Maybe I could just go twice a week and I could use one of those days to do something I really would love to do. Or maybe, you know, if I don't have to have dinner with this particular person every night of the week, I can take a couple of nights for myself and knit that Afghan, like whatever it is. So Michelle said she just went outside and looked at the moon, and there's a star off to the left of the moon tonight. That is actually Mars. The moon is right up against Mars at 23 degrees of Cancer, and that's what you're seeing out in the night sky tonight. Absolutely beautiful. Venus is not near the moon tonight. Venus is actually in Pisces tonight. So this is all about emotional clarity. So align with honesty and truth, because this is about the values that you want to live by. And 2025 is a year where people's values are going to change drastically. I'm telling you that is what's going to happen. So this is why we're at a crossroads. That Mars-Pluto opposition has been dancing around since the end of December. It's going to last for a little while longer. And that Mars-Pluto opposition is illuminating where we want to go. It's illuminating the heart desire. And the way it's doing that, tough for some of us, is it's bringing out emotions, showing us what doesn't work, showing us the discomfort, showing us the pain or the grief, because it wants us, the sky, God, divinity, wants us to illuminate those emotions so we can progress, true progress towards regrowth, more growth, progress towards our transformation. Unlike 2024, when we felt stuck, really stuck in the mire, 2025 is asking us to really tap into where we want to go and start to make that plan. This is stimulating. It's regrowth through the awareness of what is holding you back. So you're going to get revelations in an energy like this especially because right now there's a kite formation in the sky. It's using the planet Uranus, which is the grand awakener. It's using electricity. You know, we're made up of electricity. You might find sparks of intuition coming out. This is really an energy where it's going to talk to us about the sentimentality. We're going to feel sentimental about certain things. We're going to feel really emotional about certain things. But it's doing that to show you where you need to heal and what's holding you back, because it's pushing out the old emotion. Think of it as Cancer, the moon and Mars in Cancer, that water, that river, right, running through us. And now Pluto, which is hidden things, Pluto brings out what's hidden, is in Aquarius, which is an air sign. It's bubbling up that Cancer water to bring up emotions to the surface in order to bring them into the light and illuminate us as to what we need to do emotionally in our heart's desire with a path forward. So it's really telling us through sentimental feelings, through those grief, those longings, those remembrances, those memory fields, this energy is really telling us where we need to move forward and what we need to let go of. It's a very honest energy. It's going to show us what we need to grow away from. It's going to be an empowerment. But first it has to show us where we've been disempowered. That's the way Pluto works. Pluto shows us the disempowerment so we can go into the empowerment. Now, the other thing that's happening during this full moon is we've got the Mars-Pluto opposition. We've got this kite formation, which is all about liberation. It's Mars, the South Node, Uranus. The Sun is actually conjuncting Pluto. It's closing into that. Conjunct means when the Sun is actually on Pluto, another form of illuminating what's in the dark. I'm going to get to that in a minute because that exacts almost at the moment of inauguration. Really powerful stuff going on in the sky, I got to tell you. So with this Cancer full moon, the other major thing that's happening is the nodes of the moon are shifting. They shifted on Sunday from Aries, fire sign, and Libra, air sign, into Virgo, Pisces, where they will remain until 18 months. Now, the nodal axis, the nodes of the moon, are our arcs of development. The North Node is where we want to go in our life. When I read your chart and I see where your North Node is, I can tell exactly what your soul's desire is in this lifetime. The South Node is what you brought in from past life in order to make you feel comfortable with habits. But you came into this life to let go of those habits. So I like to think of the North Node as a new group of friends who are really welcoming, and you really don't know what they like to do. They're completely new. They have new interests, but they're beckoning towards them and saying, hey, come over here. This is really where you want to be. You want to do this stuff with us because that's what your soul's looking for. Come over here to the North Node side. And the South Node is the friends that you kind of grew up with that really aren't moving on with their life, and they're kind of like hanging out in the corner like a bunch of loiterers saying, hey, come on over here. Just do what you always did. You know, you're good at it. You could make a life on this, you know. Just keep doing what you're doing. Nothing's wrong with it. So the South Node is what we want to grow away from, things we've grown out of, but they feel comfy. The North Node is what our soul really wants us to take on. The challenges, the passion, the believe in divinity, believe in God, whatever that is for you, and jump off the cliff energy. So now the North Node is in Pisces. South Node has gone into Virgo. Completely different. Now we've got water and earth. We've gone from air and fire to water and earth. And isn't it interesting how when the nodes were making this change, the California wildfires went crazy just as the nodes were leaving fire and air. Boom, went out with a bang. Now they're in water and earth. So expect floods. But on another note, these nodal shifts are about choices we make. So all of the things, the choices and the things we made with the Libra Aries axis was all about, which is for the prior 18 months, was all about relationships. It was a lot of balance in relationships, how we configure ourselves through the other person, what triggers us, what doesn't, like how we really want our relationships to be. Now, for the next 18 months in Pluto, for the next 18 months in Pisces and Virgo, North Node Pisces, South Node Virgo, now it's going to be everything we learned the last 18 months gets applied. And it gets applied to how our values have shifted. What's the path we want to be on? The ideals we really want to live by. We were working on the relationships the way we want them to be. Now it's our own ideals, what we have to bring to those things. What is truly valuable to us, and what are the principles and the values and the intention, the being intentional in our life that we want to live with. And you're going to see that unfold over the next 18 months. This is a progressive alignment. It's not like changes in a day, one day. This full moon is a seeding moment while the nodes change and some other energy that's new comes in. And it's how we want to define our life. And over the next 18 months, especially 25 into 26, this is the work we're going to be doing. Embodying what we really want our life to be defined as. What are our values? What is really meaningful to us? And it's some really big, big, heavy stuff. But we've also got Saturn approaching a shift of energy, which is the end of a 14-year cycle. So we've got all these closing chapters. We've got all of this culmination. As a matter of fact, in 2025, there's a phenomenon happening that is why 2025 is going to be a tremendous turning point for all of us. And the reason being that in 2025, all of the 4 major outer planets have gone into new signs by the halfway point of the year. Now, that's rare enough. For the history of astrology, very rare is it that all of those planets will change into new signs during the course of a year, much less 6 months. But they're not only changing, they're also all giving aspects and speaking and having conversations with each other in different forms, which I'm going to guide you every step of the way this year. But first, Pluto went into Aquarius. That was the end of a 15-year cycle where it had been. Now, March 31st, Neptune goes into Aries. That's like a, pretty long cycle, few years. I think it's like 9 years or maybe 12. Then Saturn goes into Aries on May 24th. Saturn is a 2 to 3 year cycle. Jupiter goes into Cancer in June. And Uranus goes into Gemini in July. Major, major transits, not just in the elements from earth to water, fire. Now things really change. Every time a planet changes into another sign, and each planet has a different length of revolution that it takes to do this. Like Pluto takes 15 years, Uranus takes about 8 to 9 years, like that. So every time a planet changes a sign, it's a big energy shift. And we carry into the new energy the things we learned from the prior energy. So these are huge energy shift. But myself and the Soul Space podcast will be here to guide you. But this is tying into the fact that it's a year where we have an inauguration in the United States of a whole new government, right? A whole new series of people. So there's things that are in play now that are going to work for all of us in a certain way and also out in the world. And the one we already talked about, that's the Mars-Pluto opposition. That's going to be in play very strongly until April. That's creating the feeling within us that something's happening. Something's going to happen. There's like this kind of foreboding feeling like something major is going to change, because it is. And this is a strange feeling. I don't know if you guys all feel it. I'd love to see in the chat. Because on the one hand, we feel really optimistic. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really feeling good. I feel happy. I want to plan things, and I'm doing more than I've been doing in the last couple of years. But I still have this weird feeling inside me like something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And that's coming from the Mars-Pluto opposition. Because like I just said, that's where things come up from the hidden places in us. In the collective, that's power struggles. It's power struggles from hidden forces. So that Mars-Pluto opposition out in the collective, out in the world, it reveals things. It shows what's true and creates power struggles from that. We also, the second big alignment that we have is Saturn with Pluto. And this has been since last May. It actually perfects January 26th, 6 days after the inauguration. The power is really going up there. This is our physical reality, Saturn, meets Pluto, what's hidden. So now you've got a Mars opposition to Pluto, bubbling up what's underneath the surface to show us what's real, right? We've got Saturn playing around with Pluto now. And that's saying Saturn is our structure, Saturn is reality, Saturn is the reality check. So now in our physical reality, we're going to have something revealed that's hidden. Saturn, when it speaks in a conversation of tension with Pluto, is also a reshaping of boundaries. It's a redefinition of relationships. And what do we have now in the headlines? Greenland, Canada, right? Reshaping boundaries, right? This energy started during the grand conjunction in January of 2020. On January 12th, 2020, when the first case of COVID was discovered in the Hunan laboratory, that was when Saturn and Pluto met in Capricorn. They were right on the same exact degree. Now, Saturn is at the halfway point. It's half squared to Pluto, which is a conversation of tension. So it's going to repeat some of that energy. And it may not be a disease or something like that, but it's going to be something revealed. Something that is hidden comes out into the open. And so that's playing out right around this time. And then the third thing that's happening, which is all part of this energy for the next little while, I'd say up until June for this one, is Jupiter squaring Saturn. Now, Jupiter squaring Saturn, it was also part of that grand conjunction. Remember, in December of 2020, we had that big, huge conjunction where Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn all came together in Capricorn. Now, Jupiter and Saturn are at their halfway points where they're no longer together. They're squaring each other, which means they're at a 90 degree in the chart. Simply stated, you don't really even need to know all that, but simply stated, this means that Jupiter, which is expansion, the optimism, that great feeling we're all feeling about, oh, new things coming. Oh, it's a new year. Oh, I want to do so many new things. And that energy is right on the mark. It's really the energy of where we're at. But now Saturn, remember, is the reality. It's our physical reality. It's the reality check. Comes in a conversation of tension with Jupiter. That beautiful, benevolent, lucky, expansive ball of fire and air. And it pulls it back. And that's why 2025 into 2026, you will see contraction. You will see economic contraction. You will see some things pulled back. You may feel a little bit of restriction in your own life. But that's because we have to have reality in order to make our dreams come true. If Jupiter just kept expanding everything and didn't have to answer to Saturn, it would just go so big it would burst. But because Saturn is there holding the structure, remember, boundaries are going to be reformed. And Saturn is a big part of that because it's having that conversation with Jupiter saying, dream the impossible dream. You know, use your imagination, Jupiter, but I'm here to help you bring it into reality and put the brakes on where it's needed. So it's really an amazing time. And the fact that all of this energy, which is just a big, huge energy shift of what was once unconscious and what we couldn't see, is all coming to the surface so that we can do things differently and do things new and have new perspectives. It's just such an exciting and such an amazing time. And I wanted to tie it into the inauguration a little bit because I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I don't know if Trump is going to be a fabulous president or not so fabulous president. I don't know if we're going to have an amazing future or a negative future. But it will be very interesting to watch based on this turning point. So I'm going to summarize everything. This is a clearing out of the old baggage. Really is. It's clearing out of the old conditioning. New ways are going to be illuminated if you're ready to embrace the growth. Now, there's a lot of people out there throughout this process that are going to be like, hey, I don't want to change anything. I'm good. Well, that might not work in this energy. That's all I can tell you. So clear out the old baggage, new way of illumination, ready to embrace the growth. This is a process that's going to deeply resonate in you. It may start out and feel a little cranky or a little bit foggy because we still have Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, which is disillusionment, illusion, what's real, what's not. Uh-oh, my bubble just got burst. I got to face these things. But the beauty of it all is that it's bringing us the life we want if we're brave enough to get it. It's bringing us to the edge of the cliff that we have to jump off. And I know everyone out there watching and the people who will watch the replay, I know you're thinking right now exactly about the thing in your life that's really scary to let go of, and it's a challenge to let go of. But I'm here to tell you to do it, because on the other side of that is everything that you want. And we cause suffering for ourselves in our life because we don't take that leap of faith. We confuse the things that are restricting us with our security, and they're not. They're just restricting us. And your soul didn't come into this lifetime to be restricted. It didn't come in here to be repressed. It didn't come in here to be told you aren't good enough. It came in here to soar and fly and do everything that you really know is what you were meant to do in the world. And the other part of this deep process that we're going to go through this year is that South Node in Virgo wants us to be of service. When we're thinking about what we really want to do with our life, there's some service there. And service doesn't mean you have to go become an RN, or you have to go save the world, or, you know, be an influencer. I absolutely abhor that word. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Never want to be an influencer. I'd love to inspire people. I'll be an inspirer. It means that whatever resonates with you, maybe it's being a mom. Maybe it's being an artist. Maybe it's writing in a journal every day, you know. Maybe it's just helping somebody cross the street. It doesn't have to be anything grand. It just has to resonate with your soul so that you feel like you're in alignment. And that's the beauty of the lives that we're given, is nobody's holding a gun to our head telling us we have to do something really grand and be famous and make a ton of money. And no, the only thing we're supposed to do is be who we are and answer the call of our soul. And that can be whatever it wants you to be. I mean, my producer here, Bobby, he puts a lot of his heart and soul into this studio, and it shows. It's a great place to be. You walk in, it feels great. It's a vibe here, and that's his calling, you know. And I'm a true believer that we don't have just one calling in life, you know. For the last 30 years, I've been helping people purchase and sell homes, and I've used that as a way to serve my community and serve people. I change lives that way. But I know that's not all I'm capable of. I know that now I'm going to go on to do that in a different capacity through my spiritual work. So, while I'll still be in a capacity as a realtor, now there's another layer to that. And so that's what being in the soul space is all about. Just being in alignment and feeling really in flow with the universe. So this is the life that we want to live. This is committing to that, connecting to the heart and connecting to the heart values of where these energies are going to be revealed for us. And you don't have to chase them. You just have to allow and surrender. Oftentimes when I do readings, and you can book a reading on my website, zenkuda.com, right up here you see zenkuda.com. And if you go on there, the booking thing, you can actually just book it right through. It gives you the appointment. It does everything for you. And I record all of my readings so that you have that recording forever and ever. But sometimes I'll read people and they'll be like, I don't know what my life purpose is. I don't know what my life purpose is. And hey, I was like that once too. And I used to chase it. I'd be like, I'd go into yoga or I'd go into meditation. I'd be like, okay, please give me my life purpose. Please give me my life purpose. You know, show me, show me, show me. You can't chase it. If you were at the supermarket tonight and you left and you were pushing your grocery cart across the parking lot and someone started chasing after you, you'd run. So if you chase your soul purpose or chase asking your higher self, God, whoever, to tell you what your soul purpose is, it's going to be out of your reach. You're going to keep grasping at it, and it's going to be just out of your reach. You've got to just be. You've got to sit in silence. You've got to just go with the flow. Allow yourself to completely relax and allow thoughts to come in. I oftentimes see people like that. You know, my psychic ability came to me in a very easy way. I'm very, very blessed doing the Lord's work. When I do a psychic reading, and many people will come to me and say, you know, what should I do? How can I develop this? You don't chase it. You allow it. You surrender to it. And this year is an amazing year to participate in that surrender. You know, not that you're going to give up your life, not that you're going to surrender to the other or in a power struggle, but that you're going to just use the affirmations and ground yourself in where we're at to allow yourself to feel what is your calling. Feel what is your soul purpose. You're not going to find it up here. It's not mental. You can't chase it. You're going to find it here. I remember when I first got my Reiki attunements and I first used to do Reiki, it was the most natural feeling for me in the world. I was never nervous. I was never anxious. I just felt like I was completely one with the universe and in flow when I did healing work. And I just knew that's what I was meant to do for that period of my life. I don't do a lot of that now. I do a monthly circle for ladies with breast cancer. I sometimes do privates, not very often. I really pick and choose who I exchange energy with. But I knew when that was given to me that it was a place I was supposed to be. And it's the same thing with anyone. Like, you know, maybe you're a nurse and you feel like that when you're on the floor nursing. Maybe you're a teacher and when you're in front of the room, you feel like that. I feel like that sometimes when I'm coaching people privately and I'm sharing my experience and I'm sharing my wisdom and they're giving me their experience and giving me their wisdom. And there's this connection that's just like an infinity, you know, going back and forth. That's when you're in flow and in alignment. Those are the things our soul's supposed to do, you know, and it could be anything. Some people feel like that when they're gardening. You know, it doesn't have to be something that's judged by other people's standards. It has to be what really resonates with you and what's really your standard for your life and your intention. And that's what 25 is going to be all about. So that's the energy. That is the nodal shifts. I'm just checking my cards to see if there was anything else that I wanted to... the only thing other that I wanted to talk about, and this is a Saturn-Venus conjunction in Pisces right now, that really amps up Jupiter, which is a planet of benevolence and good luck. So don't be surprised, especially during this full moon and over the next week, when you're getting those revelations or you're getting really in touch with yourself and finding those things that are hidden coming to the surface. Don't be surprised if there's some new belief systems that come in to live by. Especially with Pluto in Aquarius, it's newness, it's pioneering, it can be scientific. I think we're going to see a lot of things come in through AI and the material world where we'll really have to use a lot of internal discernment to know what's real and what's not. That just goes without saying with all these formations that are happening. And that's the purpose of AI. The purpose of AI is not to take over or take our place. The purpose of AI is to challenge us to be more human. I mean, that's why it's here. You know, it's not, energy isn't polarized. It's part of the same wavelength. You just got to meet it in the middle. But new belief systems to live by is going to come in because it's very Plutonian in Aquarius. It's also that we're finishing up a lot of Piscean energy with Neptune and Saturn coming to the end of Pisces. They're going to conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries, which is a completely new beginning for the world. So you're going to find a lot of new belief systems coming in, and it could be a lot to do with the occult. Some transits that are coming up this week, we have... just looking because I know I want to just look when the sun goes into Aquarius. And if anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat. Yeah, on Inauguration Day, we also have Mercury squaring Chiron, which is a lot of healing. And the sun is conjunct Pluto at 1 degree of Aquarius that day, which means that it's really going to illuminate what's hidden. It's going to be a really interesting inauguration. So do we have any questions in the chat? Yep, resonate your soul, feel the beauty. That is right. Hi, Gira. How are you doing? I hope everything's going well with you. Yep, Mars is in the sky tonight, that's for sure. So those of you who are water signs, be extra good to yourself this week because that full moon in Cancer is definitely going to bring you some emotion. So I am going to go to our nature moment, and then I'm going to come back and tie that into everything that we're talking about tonight on the show. So you have to ground yourself in nature, guys. So take a look at this nature moment that I recorded for you guys. Today's Nature Moment from the Soul Space Podcast is brought to you by Georgia Rose, and we are at Fire Island National Seashore in beautiful Long Island, New York. And this is one of my favorite places because it's near the lifeguard station, which is not really habitated in inhabited, I guess is the right word, in winter. And it's just really cool here. And behind me, you can see kind of what's like the graveyard of the lifeguard stand, where they take all the stuff they find washing up on the shore and they kind of just put it around. So it's a really cool place to like just kind of check out. And this is one of my secret places because it blocks me from the wind in the wintertime, and I sit here and get my vitamin D sun. So when you're out in nature, remember there's all vitamins and all kinds of minerals in the universe that we can grow from and we can get healthier from. And one of the things that I like to do is walk through here and use this as a place to actually, you know, go out and see the ocean, and you can see from behind me. So always take your nature moments and remember that nature is here as a gift from God to show us how much He loves us, created all of this just for us. So find your little spots in the wintertime that you can actually, you know, be protected from the wind and the elements and still get some beautiful, beautiful sunlight. Light is so important for us. So make sure when you do that, you've got your feet on the ground, and you're meditating, and you're really grounding in this beautiful gift from the earth. So I have this little place I go. It's like by the lifeguard station because no one's there in the wintertime. And it blocks the wind. So I like actually can sit and get sun in the winter. And vitamin D is so important for our immune system. But the reason why I did that little video down at the seashore was because it just ties in with everything. I mean, just like the lifeguards, that whole, like all those driftwood and all that stuff, they have like a whole treasure chest of things they find that wash up. And that's really the Cancer full moon. It's going to wash things up in from the depths of our briny deep, as I like to say, our most vulnerable places, not to hurt us or make us think of old wounds, but to show us that it's okay to be vulnerable. So whatever comes up for y'all in this full moon, please know that you have the support of the Zenkuda community. Reach out. Let us know what's going on social media. We can send you some love. I'm sending you all love tonight. And remember, just like the tide comes in and out, we're forming all kinds of new stuff. We're building new beaches. That's what we're doing. So I will be here next Monday at 7 o'clock in the Soul Space. It's going to be interesting. It'll be the night of, I believe, the election, the inauguration. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Because, boy, do we have a very, very active sky for that day, let me tell you. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on social media on Zenkuda Soul Space. You can also find me on Instagram on Zenkuda Official, but my website is the best place to go. You can actually find the show on my website. I repeat it, and it's put there every week. Just go to zenkuda.com. You can book a reading with me there. I do astrology readings, all kinds of chart work. I can even do relationship charts. I also do psychic mediumship reading and tarot readings. So reach out on the Zenkuda Soul Space. And also, if you want any Zenkuda merch, we're going to be selling that. I'm doing a little video about that soon. And have a great week, everybody. And I'll be back here in the Soul Space next Monday night at 7 o'clock.